Hi, Revved Up. It's Jameson. We're here in Lake Hopatcong, New Jersey. I'm 33, and I'm here to show you my house, my cars, my stuff. Right off the bat, I'm standing in front of a DeLorean. It's the cameraman, my good friend Brian. It's his DeLorean. We all have the same car disease. So come on, I'll show you the house. Start off, show you this is my incredibly long driveway. I will never, ever shovel this driveway. Instead, I have a John Deere with a snowblower attachment that I just ride all the way up. So these are my cars. First off, this is my 2013 BMW 328. This is what we call a daily driver. It means that I've got something better for nice weather, and this is for winter, rain, or when I need to carry more than 2 people. As a BMW guy, one way you can tell we know what we're talking about is you know the platform code. So this is an F30 generation BMW 3 Series. And if you want to be a real car dork, you know the engine code. This has an N24 cylinder, which the purists hate, because you can't have a 4-cylinder BMW, God forbid. So the funny story about this car is I had to make a deal with my wife in order to get it. She said, if we're going to spend this much money on a car, you can't do your normal bullshit and spend all our money modifying it. So I was like, deal, I'm not going to spend money modifying it. So instead, the wheels that you see right there, well, they're custom made, but I sold the stock wheels to buy them. All the other stuff that is going to be on this car, a custom exhaust, a full audio system, it's all free because I made development deals that they get to use my car to measure and to set it up, and I get the first production part free. So I haven't spent any money on this car. I've kept my end of the bargain, but I still get to hook up my cars. Another example, if you come inside, this car came with kind of an ugly old man wood interior kit. And again, I can't spend money. I can't say, honey, I don't like the wood interior kit. I'm gonna put the factory aluminum kit in it. So instead, I go on the forums, like I always do, and I say, hey, does anyone want to trade the wood kit for the aluminum? And that's what I did. And I installed it myself. Only took about an hour, basic hand tools. And again, I didn't spend any money. Next, I'll show you the baby, the toy, which is over here. This is my 98 BMW M Roadster. This is my baby, this is my toy. This is what I typically wrench on myself because that car has a warranty, this one doesn't. And this car has about everything. I've done everything myself, but when things get scary, like installing a supercharger, I get help from friends or I get help from a professional shop. So the best thing about this car is under the hood. Let me show you that. So under the hood here, we have a supercharger. This right here is a supercharger. It did not come that way. It should not be there. And basically with this setup, I've pretty much doubled the horsepower. So a car the size of a Miata has about 500 horsepower. And it's enough to get you into trouble. Once or twice, I've kind of almost lost my license, but I still have it. And the best part of looking at this car is knowing that it's fast, but also hearing that it's fast. So I'll start it for you. And it sounds like that because I just put cams in it. And that high-pitched whine is the sound of the supercharger. Enough of that. And over here, I'll show you my wife's car. Because the joke is, I've got this car disease, but I've managed to somehow infect my wife too. So this is her Saab. It's a good time to bring my wife out, so I'll bring out Lindsay. This is the love of my life, Lindsay. Hi. Hi. This is her Saab. The big joke is that within days of owning it, I had to put an intake on it. I had to put a tune on it because she wanted more power. And even today, she says she's gotten used to the power and she wants 280 horsepower instead of 250. So this disease, it spreads, and look what I've done to my wife. And now, if you want to follow me into the garage, which is one of my so-called man caves, and this is where I do as much work on cars as I can. As rules of being a car guy, if you notice both cars were a stick, another rule, if you're a car guy, you probably have another set of wheels and tires in your house. So my car guy credibility is intact. Another thing if you want to notice, car guys have random car parts hanging everywhere. These are fender liners to the Roadster that I liquefied accidentally. Car guys, of course, have tools. I got plenty of tools. I even have a racing helmet. I'd love to say it's for racing, but lately it's for plowing the driveway on the John Deere so snow doesn't get in my face. This is my life. Now, if you'll follow me into the house, I'll show you all the goodies inside there. So this is the house. We've been here about 2.5 years, and the theme of the house I want you to notice is, although I'm a car guy, I didn't want the house to just every room to have cars, cars, cars. I want to have designated man cave, man areas. You know, I have my garage, I have my cars, so that the house is decorated. I'm a designer and I've got a sense of color and style, so I want people to recognize that. Instead, like, you wouldn't go to a dentist missing teeth, right? So my house looks like someone with an art education lives here. So starting off, this is what I call the sunroom, the breakfast room. There's a lot of really nice natural light. We like entertaining with this room. We like the high ceilings. Moving on over here, I'll show you the kitchen, where again, my wife has it pretty good because I do all the cooking. I got the nice granite countertops, which I think 2008 the kitchen was renovated. Really nice workspace. I'm not that good of a cook, but I get around. Moving on, I'll show you the living room. Over here, you'll notice Lindsay with my baby. His name is Spencer. He's an English Springer Spaniel. I've always had Springer Spaniels. Even since I was a kid, my parents used to raise them during the summers. So I was always surrounded by puppies, and they're just really, really amazing dogs. Some nice things about this room is, you know, the fireplace, which I've only used twice. One of the things, like I said, is the house, I didn't want to explode with cars. There's only 2 exceptions in this room. One is this Ferrari drawing, which I did in college. My wife loved it so much where even she was proud of it, and she wanted it in this room. So again, it's one of the only exceptions that if someone walked into my house, they knew, wow, he must be into cars. The only other exception is right behind you. These die-cast cars, again, even my wife loved them so much where she's like, put them in the curio cabinet. I'll call this a sneak preview because let's just say there's a lot more die-cast cars in the house, but they're in a designated man cave, like I said. To keep following me, over here is the formal living room. Again, just notice that everything's kind of color coordinated. Things match. Again, maybe someone with some kind of design sense actually lives here. Keep following me. Over here is the formal living room. Right now, these are just hand-me-down couches. You know, the longer we've been here, we've tried to replace hand-me-down things with, you know, things we actually want, things we actually like. So these are like grandma couches with ugly covers on them, and the dog has basically made it his home. So we kind of don't really care what's happening right now to it. And then next, if you follow me, we'll go upstairs. So this is one of the most important rooms in the house. This is my computer room and art studio. This is one of my man caves because this is where I create art, and it's one of the most important things in my life, and it's always been one of the most important things in my life. If you look on this wall, there's concept cars, things that, you know, won't exist for years and years. There's illustrations of existing cars. There's even some product stuff. I mean, a hairdryer, but even my hairdryer is inspired by cars. Coffee makers and handheld razors. There's everything here. It really gives a good idea of my passions, for drawing and, you know, interior sketches, inside, outside. I mean, I design my own wheels. I mean, every aspect of cars, it's just always been part of my nature. However, over the years, I've transitioned more away from drawing by hand, more to designing with the computer. So I've, you know, it's also my computer studio, and this is where I create some of the more current things I do, which is 3D modeling of cars, motorcycles, things like that. Behind you, this is an article from European Car Magazine, which features yours truly, which had a 2-page spread a few years ago, and that was one of my favorite cars, the Saab Viggen, which I modified, tuned, and designed to be a personal reflection of my taste. Over here is another important thing. This trophy. This trophy kind of reflects how I see this show revved up and my place in it, because this was the first time I ever went drag racing. And I kept telling myself all I wanted to do was not go home from the first round. I just wanted the little trophy. But if you look, this is a pretty big trophy, because not only did I win the first round, but I won the whole fucking thing. So I won out of 180 cars, people with years and years of experience that I thought maybe I'm not good enough. Well, I won the whole damn thing. So you draw the parallel to the show. Following me, over here you'll see this is right now an empty bedroom. There's pretty much nothing in it right now. My wife uses it for exercise, but this is where we plan to have a baby. This is the only room in the entire house we painted. It was pink, Princess Pepto pink. But even if we had a little girl, we're like, let's not cram pink down a baby's throat. So it's kind of a neutral blue. So whether it's a boy or a girl, this room is kind of ready to go. It's on our to-do list, maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now. I don't know. Keep following me. Over here is the guest bedroom. Not much to talk about. This is where, you know, my mom sleeps over maybe once a month. Maybe my in-laws sleep over, or if a friend sleeps over that drinks a little bit too much, this is where they stay. Over here, this is, again, one of my favorite rooms in the house. This is the master bedroom. It's a really nice size. We finally insisted when we moved in of having a king-size bed. You know, with the dog in the house, he always managed to take up way too much space on a queen-size bed. So of course we get a king-size bed. Now it just means the dog lies this way, and we still don't have enough room for us to sleep. Over here, it's a little odd to have carpeting by the sinks, kind of like a hotel, but you get used to it. Over here, though, is kind of the highlight of the bedroom. Not everyone has something like this. Bam! This is the hot tub room, which we've used a few times. When we first looked at the house with my in-laws, I said to my father-in-law, this is where you're gonna become a grandpa. Over here, if you look, we even have a little refrigerator where we could put wine and beer. Not to be romantic, but it's just because we're lazy. So we don't have to go downstairs. So that's that. Now, there's one last really great room to see, and it's kind of the ultimate man cave of this entire house. Here we are, the basement, my man cave. What you're looking at is about a 15-year collection of largely 1 to 18 scale die-cast cars. I have every make, every model. I've got some motorcycles. I've got European cars. I've got hot rods. I've got basically anything you can think of. Car manufacturers you've never even heard of. I have it. And for now, the basement is a work in progress. I wanted to have all these on nice lit shelves, things like that, but I've run out of money. So what you see is how it's going to be until I can afford to properly finish this basement. So for now, a lot of these cars are just stacked up and raw cement blocks. Not exactly exciting, but over here is just a TV as a placeholder, but there's going to be a 120-inch power screen that comes down, a couple couches, things like that. It'll be a proper man cave. For now, it's just my die-cast car collection. Over here, some of my favorite brands. This is a brand called Auto Art. They have a lot of detail, especially for the price point. They've got metal brake rotors and carpeting, things like that. And so this is just, I think I've got 160 auto arts. There's some stacked, there's some over here. And then if you look, I've got a lot of loose cars. The loose cars are from when I was a kid and I didn't really know any better, and I used to throw away the box, and now like the 40-year-old version, you have to save them in the box. So I learned that some of these cars can be really valuable. When I was 16, the first car I ever bought that I kept in the box, I paid $25 for, and 3 years later, it wound up being worth $250. And when I was 16, I'm like, wow, this is fun, but they could actually be worth something. Over here is kind of a work in progress table. As a kid, I always used to build model cars. I probably built about 1,000 of them over the years. So these for when I was about 16 or 18, and this one is called a Porsche, and they're made in Italy. And they have about 2,000–3,000 pieces, and they take about 150 hours to put together. And they say if you can build a Porsche, which is made from the original plans of the original car, you can pretty much build the real thing. So this is a restoration project. You can tell by all the dust on it. So over here, a couple more of my favorite brands. This is UT. UT is the predecessor of Auto Art. When I was a kid, UTs were about as good as you could get at a reasonable price point. But then when Auto Arts came out, I collected Auto Arts pretty much exclusively. Next, we also have Hot Wheels Elites, who mainly did Ferraris because they made a deal with Ferrari that for a few years they had the exclusive rights to do any diecast. So overall, the collection is about 500 pieces, a few different scales. I focus into 1/18 scale, which is what most of the cars are. I've got a few 1/12 scale, which are larger, and then there are these, which were the 1/8 scale. But as exciting as looking at cars on a shelf or cars sitting in my driveway, the best thing to do with cars is, of course, drive them, which we're gonna go do now. So revved up, you've seen my house, you've seen my cars, you've seen my stuff. But as interesting as that is, cars are meant to be driven, and it's a lovely day, so we're gonna drive them. Safety first, kids.